Welcome back, everybody, to Brown Bag Bets, powered by BetSports, where your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex Christensen, and joining me as always on Tuesday, it's Mr. Matthew Rooney. And he's not quite got the day off. He's off doing other goofy internet stuff, but don't worry, the BetSports Golf Show, that'll be back next week. Unfortunately, we're not sending Andy to Hawaii for the golf. It's my understanding they are golfing in Hawaii.
They should send us to Hawaii to do Brown Bag Bets live while they do the golf show from home. I feel like that would be fair,
And I
right?
mean, Hawaii is a very environmentally conscious place, so they'd be pro the brown bag bets as opposed to the
It's a good
plastic
point.
bag bets.
That's a good point. We are not plastic bag bets. We're brown bag bets. Noops, how was your holiday? How did everything go? How was the betting go? How did the betting go? Was there any good gifts? Was there any good meals? I'm sure there were.
It was a lot of good food. My dad does a seafood blowout every year for Christmas Eve, and
Oh,
then the next day is just Italian food and cookies until I explode. Nothing too crazy. I will at some point have my lovely sister made me a brown bag bet sign that I haven't found out like how to
I
put
saw
behind
that. You
me
sent that in
or
the group. That was
display it.
fantastic.
So
I think you just put it right behind your head there.
I think I just have to find a way to like attach it to the wall. Basically, just make it its own shelf. I'll figure that out. But how
Just
about you?
hammer
What'd
it
you
in
do
there.
for the holiday? How are things in Chicago? Did you have a white Christmas?
It was very white and it was very cold. It didn't snow a ton, but it was the snow was kind of already on the ground, and then there was a lot of the wind whipping around the snow. So we didn't get snow. It kind of looked like we did. And yeah, it was absolutely freezing. It was incredibly cold, so that was a lot of fun. But made some great steaks on Christmas Eve. Christmas had a very large Italian dinner, so it was a really nice back-to-back day of meals for me. Got some nice gifts. Spent some nice time with the family. Didn't have to talk to Andy all that much. It was really just a win-win-win. Just kidding, Andy. We know you're not watching.
It makes sense. We had the football game last night. I don't know if there's anything of interest to say other than, it seems like the playoff picture is starting to form up a little bit here in the AFC. The Chargers are now sitting there in the 6. You've got the Dolphins at the 7. It doesn't really feel like the Patriots, Jets, Titans, Steelers, they're all one
No.
game out. It feels like hard for them to come in. It seems like we might have 3 NFC East teams in the playoffs, which I'm sorry, everyone. That's just terrible news.
Yeah, but I'd rather see that than the Packers. And it might be selfish of me as a Bears fan, but I don't know. Like I keep seeing this argument in this debate that like, oh, the Packers might be better coming in as the 7th seed. They won the Super Bowl in 2010 with that, and like they're getting hot at the right time. And yeah, I roll like they didn't really beat the Dolphins as much as the Dolphins just gave them the football game. Like obviously, I hope Tua is okay and not seriously concussed, but like he was clearly still concussed in that football game after that hit. And those like the 3 interceptions in the second half were just like, here you go, like here's the ball. Like it was a bad high school interception, so like they just kind of gave him the game. Like Aaron Rodgers wasn't all that sharp, and if that team has to go into San Francisco in week 1 or in the wild card round, I don't see them getting out of the first quarter still in that game.
Yeah, the Packers stuff, it's just like, well, the Packers would be better as the 7th seed. Well, the Packers would be better as any seed. Let's remember that they're out of the playoffs. Of course, it would be better to be in the playoffs. That's much better for your chances for winning the Super Bowl if you're in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm sure that getting the 7th seed and having to go to the one place that Aaron Rodgers cannot win in the playoffs and then have to go to play the best team in football and the Philadelphia Eagles if they win that on the road is a much more desirable position than a home game or a bye week and then a home game in the 1 seed like they had last year. Yes, please keep giving me that argument. That makes a whole lot of sense.
It's enough of professional football. Let's get into the amateurs, see what the college kids are doing. And I like this first bet here at the top because somebody told me to
25
bet
minutes to kick
to, put,
off.
to play the quarterback passing yards over. And my guess is if you like Georgia Southern here, -5.5, Mr. Van Treese to have, I think it was over 297 passing yards. What do you think of that?
I like it. I like Georgia Southern. Big on Georgia Southern in this game. It's the Kyle Van Treese revenge game. He was Buffalo's quarterback the last couple of years, and that's that's the kind of stuff like that for me in bowl games that I jump on and kind of bet to. It's gonna sound dumb, but like yesterday I bet on New Mexico State because Jerry Kill looked awesome in the Native American like poncho, like paying respect to New Mexico where he came from. New Mexico State played great football and they won that game. Like bowl games kind of have no rhyme or reason. And a lot of these are just guessing. So if you find something, you find a gut feeling bet, like just go ahead and take it. This is a revenge game for Kyle Van Treese. We bet on Buffalo, or I guess we bet against them. Remember they had that weird game against Akron at noon on a Friday that we bet on because it was a makeup. We
Well, we
played,
had to. It
we
was
yeah, we played
horrible.
Akron plus the 11. Akron really should have won that game outright. Buffalo came back in the second half. Buffalo's not a very good football team. They're not the team they've been the last couple of years. They lost at Central Michigan. Central Michigan's not very good. Sorry, Reed. Georgia Southern's played pretty good football. They can score a lot. Kyle Van Treese is a pretty good quarterback. Clay Helton, I think, is a pretty good group of 5 coach. So I'm going to go with Georgia Southern laying the 5.5. East Carolina minus 7.5 against Coastal Carolina. Grayson McCall is in the transfer portal, but he's still going to play. They lost their head coach, who's now headed to Liberty, and that's a team who actually, similar to Liberty, just kind of quit at the end of the year. And I don't see them having much reason to play this game at all. This doesn't really seem like a rallying around Grayson McCall type game. This really kind of feels like it's over, and this whole team, including Grayson McCall himself, has kind of quit. I'm very surprised he's playing in this football game. I think East Carolina has a whole lot more motivation. I'm not going to touch the Memphis game. Too many points, totals too high. I was thinking about a Memphis team total over 33.5, but I'm not going to go anywhere near that. I think that third game is a nice little take a break from betting spot for me. And then the Wisconsin Oklahoma State under. Most of Oklahoma State is in there. A lot of Oklahoma State's in the transfer portal. Wisconsin's quarterback Graham Mertz, not that he's very good, is in the transfer portal. This is going to be a whole lot of running the football. Oklahoma State's 2 backup quarterbacks, whichever one of them it is that is going to play, is not all that good. And it's Jim Leonard's last game as Wisconsin's defensive coordinator. They already have a pretty good defense. I think they're going to have a lot of motivation in this one. I think this is going to be like a 16-10 type football game where it's just a whole lot of Wisconsin running the ball, Oklahoma State kind of dinking and dunking and running the football as well. I don't see a lot of points. I think that's way too many. So we're going to take the under 45.5 in that one.
I like it. I like all these. This is fun.
Yeah.
I know normally you're an underdog guy, but it does seem like good
You know,
favorites.
I did feel weird having 2 favorites, and that's almost why I stayed away from the Memphis one, because they're 7-point favorite too. Weird things in bowl games. So I did stay away from that one, but it felt weird not having some underdogs. But I've been riding the underdogs a lot, and I think it's time for a little bit. This seems like a favorite day to me. This seems like a favorite stay to me. But if you do like the underdogs, like we've said, take the money line. Just take the money.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And like even that minus 5.5, I'm going to see if I can find like a minus 6.5 or something. See if I can slide that out a bit, do something like that. But it feels like all these bowl games, it's a lot of motivational angles because, it's been a little while since a lot of these kids played football. Apparently it's not as exciting to be in bowl games anymore. We have everybody quitting. Nobody wants to play. They all want to go home. So if you can find a team with a few players, especially important players that really have something to play for, it makes perfect sense to me.
Like Dan and I were talking, and Minnesota is playing Syracuse in the Pinstripe Bowl. I believe that's on Thursday. Syracuse's best player is their running back. He's not playing. Minnesota's best player is their running back. He's 57 yards away from the school record for rushing yards. Probably like Minnesota, or at least a Minnesota offensive, some sort of offensive total over in that one. You got to do a little digging sometimes, but there's usually some pretty solid reasonings or motivations to bet certain teams in these bowl games.
Makes a ton of sense. Let's jump into the NBA. 10 games tonight in the association. 3 bets I like. A couple bets that I'm sort of eyeing. It's disappointing. It doesn't look like Domantas Sabonis is going to play. Otherwise, I might have played Sacramento Kings as an underdog at home. So keep an eye out for that. If Jalen Brunson is in, I will be betting the Knicks +4, +5, whatever they've got. He's got a sore hip, but my guess is he probably gets it together to play his old team, the Dallas Mavericks. 3 bets I have made, though. 2 team total overs, and I'm going to lay a bunch of points with a bad team. 76ers, team total over here, 114. The Sixers team has been really fantastic the last couple weeks. As dangerous as it is for me to bet on a team I like, a team I love, really, if I'm being perfectly honest. They cause me emotional anxiety.
They seem to be your favorite.
Very silly. It's the only team that really matters. It's always dangerous to bet on them to have some success, but I really like this matchup tonight. They go up against the Washington Wizards. Thought about playing the full game over. I don't mind that if you like that, play that as well, but really nobody here that's going to be able to slow down Embiid. Really nobody here that's going to be able to slow down James Harden. Some of the secondary players should do pretty well. Tobias Harris generally doesn't have a problem going up against Kuzma and guys like that. So really like that matchup. And again, the Wizards have been kind of an over team with Bradley Beal on the floor, with Kristaps Porzingis on the floor, which we see tonight. So you can take the full game over if you want, but I have the Sixers team total closer to 117, almost 117.5. So anything 114 or lower looks pretty good to me. The Raptors, generally not a great thing to bet on the Raptors to score a lot of points. But going up against the Clippers team tonight that played a long overtime game against the Pistons last night, pretty much 40 minutes for everybody to support on the Clippers team. I expect us to see a lot of people here get set for the Clippers tonight. Kawhi Leonard might actually play because he didn't play last night, but really not going to be a lot of guys for the Clippers on the floor tonight, I believe. The Raptors have been much better at home. They're back to full strength and have been scoring more points. I've gone over this team total. I think it's like 6-7 of their last 10 games at home. So, again, like this spot for the Raptors, they should be able to beat up on a Clippers team that should just be exhausted tonight. And then as crazy as it sounds, I'm going to lay 7 points with the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're at home tonight hosting a San Antonio Spurs team that played last night, played a tough, long game, a lot of minutes for those guys, and I expect to see some serious regression. They shot 55% from the field at home. I think it was just over 40% from three. The Thunder have been fantastic at home, especially against other bad teams. This isn't a Thunder team that is really tanking this year. Whenever they have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they play very well. Everyone's healthy for the Thunder tonight, so going to fade another team again in the Spurs, who are in a really tough back-to-back spot. So Sixers team total over, Raptors team total over, and Thunder -7. Dan points out, by the way, that the Van Treese over, yeah, that's right, at BetUS. It was $285 this morning. I wonder what it is right now, but it was $299 some places. Look around. Obviously, props are different, especially college
do your shopping.
props.
Yeah, do your shopping with those. You can get some favorable totals, or obviously not as favorable totals elsewhere.
You're gonna bet an alt spread. I love when you bet alt spread.
This is not an alt spread. This is the puck line.
Oh, that's why
this is the. It's not.
The
last year was
Blackhawks are
less
that bad.
Blackhawks are that bad this year. They're trying to be that bad this year, but that's okay. If they get the number 1 pick and get Connor Bedard, this all goes away, and this is all.
What's with guys named Connor being good at hockey? What's up with that?
I don't know, but it seems to be a thing. Like Connor Bedard is the next Connor McDavid. They say apparently that would be awesome. Probably not, because it's really hard to be the next, greatest, most talented NHL player of all time. I won't say greatest yet, because that's still Gretzky. But he would be nice. He'd look very good in a Blackhawks uniform. So fingers crossed. We're tanking for Bedard. Or that's the point here. But
you're Bedarding.
I don't get it.
You're playing bad dart.
Oh, bad darting. Got it. I get it. Now I get it. Get it. I get that's fair. It's the holiday season. My brain's
it's
still
early.
off.
I get it.
It's but I am going to fade my Blackhawks big time tonight. The Hurricanes come into this one -2.5. They're a very good hockey team. They are. I'm betting on 2 very good hockey teams, I think, today. They are absolutely a Stanley Cup contender in the Eastern Conference. They've had a very good season thus far. They play very well offensively, very well responsible defensively, have a very good goaltender. I like them at -2.5 at home against the Blackhawks, who don't really play very well, haven't played well in Carolina the last few years. They seem to get blown out there just about every time. I don't think tonight's going to be much different. The Blackhawks, like I said, they are tanking. They're a bad hockey team. They're going to get worse. They're going to trade some pieces off in the next couple months. So I'm down for fading them just about whenever. They don't really score all that much. They have journeyman goaltenders. Their defensive core is not all that good. So +114 for the Hurricanes at home. Well-rested team, too. The hockey holiday break is over now, so all these teams are pretty rested. Give me the Hurricanes laying the 2.5. And the Bruins laying half against Ottawa. Ottawa had high expectations coming into this year. Slow start that they bounced back from a little bit, but still kind of just a 500 team after that slow start. We're going to take Boston laying the 1.5. Boston is the best team in the NHL right now. They're 27-4-1, I believe it is. They are very good offensively, very good defensively. They've gotten great goaltending this year, and they're coming in fresh off the break. So we're going to take the really good team against the very okay team at +134, laying the goal and a half. I think that's way too good a value to pass up on Boston.
I like both of these.
You know me. I'm all about the puck lines. All about
I'm going to see if I can find Hurricanes -3.5. Let's do it. Like, what do you think the most honest goals they could win by?
I think that could be a 5-0, 6-1 type game. If you can find 4.5, take it. If you can find 3.5, take it. Why not?
Let's stack it up. We'll do a hockey stack.
I like it. I'm all about the stack.
Everybody else likes the word ladder. I like stack. We'll call it a ladder. Whatever.
I like stack better.
All right, stack it up. We're going to stack it up. And tennis. Unfortunately, no tennis matches. Again, this is it. This is the last week. Next week, we have a real tennis tournament. They might even be outrights, depending on what's going on. It's going to be great. But the fun part about these couple weeks is some books will go out and put out kind of some fun futures, some markets to watch on players kind of throughout the year. generally pretty soft. Now, again, lower limit stuff, a little harder to find. I've got two players here that there's odds for basically players to finish in the top 8 in the WTA. This is a DraftKings. A few offshores have this, but basically the way the WTA works is there's a ranking system, and you earn points as you win tournaments. Obviously, if you win a Grand Slam, that's worth the most points. I think you get 2,000 points for winning a Grand Slam. You get 1,000 if you win a 1,000 event, 500 to 500, 250, et cetera, et cetera. And you get more points kind of as you play through. So the rankings can be pretty interesting, and it's fun to kind of find some value on these players. And there's two players I like quite a bit. The first one here, the Wimbledon champion, Elena Rybakina. Now, it's obviously a little tough for Rybakina. She comes into the season with 2,000 points from having won Wimbledon last year. So unless she wins Wimbledon again, that number is going to drop down. But as you start to look through her year, really struggled at the beginning of the season last year. Did make it to the final in Adelaide, but only made the second round in the Australian Open where she got injured. Didn't play a lot of the indoor tournaments to start the year. So as much as, I don't expect her to win Wimbledon again, she certainly could. But there's a lot of other places for her to play more than she did last year, to perform better than she did last year. Again, you look at kind of all the Grand Slams, lost in the first round of the U.S. Open, second round of the Australian Open, like I said, and the third round at the French Open. If she can make the third, fourth round of all those tournaments, that more than covers up what she's going to hand back at Wimbledon on top of what else she could get. You look at the top 8 rankings here, she's going to need about 3,500 points or so. And it's really hard for me to see her getting, less than 3,000. I think there's a good chance she gets up into that 3,500 number, which again, gets her right in the top 10 or better the top 8 or better. And as I look at the top 8, a few names that I expect to fall back a little bit. Caroline Garcia is number 4 right now. Sakkari is 6. Kasatkina is 8. All 3 of them had a really fantastic years last year, and it's going to be hard for them to repeat. So give me Rybakina plus 275 here. And one of my favorite players, Barbara Krejcikova, plus 300. She was simply injured a lot last year. Did not have a ton of success in tournaments early on. Missed a huge chunks of the season. Didn't play really from February to May. Skipped most of July, the July season. Played very little bit towards the end, but was able to pick up a few wins kind of in August and October. Played herself kind of back into form. So really kind of playing this one based off the fact that I expect her to be healthy this year. And when she's healthy, she wins tournaments. She cleans up at some of these smaller events when she goes to play doubles, and does as well play singles here. There's a couple Grand Slam events. Again, she didn't do terribly well in the Grand Slams last year, except the Australian Open. So a lot of room to make up there. I mean, the French Open, where she actually won the French Open one year, she lost in the first round to Diane Parry. Very, very strange. So again, it should be a great bounce back season for Krejcikova. I'm pumped to bet her in some of these early tournaments if this kind of pricing filters down to outrights and things. But for the year, put a little bit here. Rybakina plus 275, Krejcikova plus 300 again to finish the year as a top 8 WTA ranked player.
This might be a dumb question, but why is it top 8 and not like a nice rounded number like top 10 or top 5? Or are those available as well?
Some places I think have top 5, top 10, but both tennis tours, the ATP and the WTA, have an event at the end of the year where it's the top 8 players go.
Okay.
That's kind of why they focus in on that.
Makes
the WTA
sense.
finals, it's the best of 8 tournament. Same with ATP. So that's kind of why they held in on that. But no, that was a good question.
Well, look, Dan threw this in the chat for us. Van Treese's total on BetUS is now 293.5, and that is minus 140. There's no value on the over anymore, unless you can find an alt total somewhere, which might be a little bit tough 10 minutes prior to kickoff.
It's again, like I said, the game started just a little bit here. I think Bovada had like 297 at standard juice. So go ahead and sell the 4 yards. Don't lay minus 140 on a
don't do that
player
ever.
Prop here for 8 noon.
Take one extra pass completion and take the 297.
It's again, maybe somebody will stiff arm somebody, pick up the few yards. I think you'll be fine. You can cover that with 30 cents. And yes, Jason, I know I'd explained my joke, and thanks for reminding me.
I thought it was a good joke. No, it's just
short.
All you just need to emphasize. You didn't emphasize bad enough. You emphasized bad more. I would have got it. It was fine. It was a good joke. Let's not give him a break.
And again, he has to remind me. Herbert was almost there. Ugh.
Aren't we so lucky that we have so many bowl games today and tomorrow and this week? Like this is what we talk about on Fridays on Brown Bag. We say, why is there no day baseball today? We have day football and 3 games. It's fantastic. Well, really need to take a step back and realize how lucky we truly are during this holiday season.
It really is a blessed time of the year. This is like the best week of the year. I'm pretty sure everybody's off. I know anybody that I work with is pretty much taking the week off. We got New Year's Eve coming. So let's get to some bowl games. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. Before you leave, give us a thumbs up, a subscription, do all that stuff. Andy loves it. It makes him really happy. That's why we're here. We're here to make Andy happy.
It's
And we'll be
true.
back tomorrow with more.